In terms of McLeod, where does everything stand with him right now, and his negotiations and where his future is?
Yeah, we'll see. We're being pretty patient with him. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. He's got some things going on in the States, and, his wife's got some great opportunities for her job. And, he might stay there and, support her. And, she makes a good living. She's got a great opportunity. So, he's thinking some of those things over. We're trying to be comfortable as we can be, as giving him time. But I'm not sure how that's going to play out yet.
Do you have a timeline where, respectfully, the club says, hey, you know what, sure, you've got to make your decision, but so do we? Like, is there any timetable that you and Pinner and the rest of the front office staff have?
Yeah, there'll be a timeline on it. I mean, it's got to happen here pretty soon if we make that decision and if he makes that decision. So we're just trying to be patient and going through all kinds of scenarios and doing the best we can to be prepared with each decision that he makes. Right, it can go either way. So we've been doing our research to make sure we're ready to go if he retires or he wants to come back.
And very quickly on Enoch and what his status might be, if at all, in 2023.
Yeah, they're working on it. I think he wants to be back. I mean, he's getting a little bit older as well, and his legacy's already cemented. And is this the time to step away and move on for other things? I know he's got some other things going and some passions that he wants to do outside of football. So similar thing to Mac. We're just kind of seeing how it's going to play out. We obviously want him back. So we'll see.
Thanks, Ryan.
Next question's from David Morisuti.
Hey, Ryan, just wanted to get your sense, if let's say McLeod doesn't come back, have you guys identified potential targets? I know you want to bring a veteran in to compete with Chad for the job. Have you guys identified numbers? I know the amount of free agency quarterbacks available isn't exactly a plenty for you guys.
Yeah, we'll see. I think we got some guys, down the States that, we've been researching on that, potentially could come up here that maybe not necessarily have CFL experience, but has experience playing. We want to add to that room, that's for sure. Always trying to add to that room every year, right? So we want to have as much competition as we can in camp. That's what we're looking for. So, there's not a lot of people out there right now that aren't under contract. So we'll see how that's going to play out. We've gone through some different scenarios, but that's one position we want to add and bring competition going into training camp.
And in terms of the guys that you brought in, on defense, you talked about, Enoch and potentially if he doesn't come back, how comfortable you feel about, someone like a Jordan Williams sliding in potentially into that spot, and some of the other guys you brought in to fill in on other free agents that have left you guys?
Yeah, well, that's why we made that trade, right? The guy started in BC, made tons of plays there. He's proven himself to be a very valuable starter. So that's where we feel comfortable playing him at Mike or Will. Plans to play him at Mike, but we know he can play both. He gives us some flexibility there. But great player. For us to get trade our 9th pick to get the 4th overall pick, who's started this early in his career and been productive, we're pretty excited about that.
And just your pass rush, obviously a big part of what you guys want to do and part of Coach Mason's system. How do you guys feel? With Jagarrett leaving? And you guys bring Flo in. How do you feel about, the switch there in terms of the kind of exchanging one guy for another?
Yeah, they're different type of players. But you look how disruptive Flo was, and you look at analytics, how much disruption he caused, not necessarily always having to get a sack to, create pressure and, kind of deliver some sacks to some other folks over there. So really good player, quality guy. We feel like he gives us flexibility. We can move him around. He's just not going to be a stagnant at the end. So, Corey can get creative with him. He can drop, he can play the linebacker position if we needed to, being a defensive end. So we can move our fronts around, create some, confusion with the offensive line, their protection, and how they ID things. So really excited about it. Great character. Can't wait to see what he brings to us.
And I guess Adarius Pickett, do you envision him being a linebacker? Is that kind of where you're hoping to put him, kind of that Chris Edwards spot?
Yeah, he's going to replace the spot that Chris is playing. So we'll have him at Sam. The great thing about him, he's got flexibility to play multiple different positions. He didn't always just play Sam in Montreal. So that's one thing I loved. I feel like he's a good cover guy. We can move him around, but that's where we got him, penciled in. I think he's, a guy that can play the box, adds a little bit of the, stopping the run. And then we can blitz him, and we feel like he can do a great job in coverage. So we can move around, do some different things as well to hide the back end. And I think, those guys are really excited about it. I'm excited to get them on the field.
And a final one for me. How do you feel about bringing back as much of the offense as you did? I know that sometimes guys leave and guys look for other opportunities, but how good does it feel to know that you're going to have a lot of the guys back from last season, or majority of them back?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's not a lot of learning, so that's going to be great. We're not teaching it to a whole nucleus of players, and it's you hit training camp and they're learning on the fly. Where we have guys that are comfortable, with the offense where we're at. And it's not an easy offense. We move our receivers around quite a bit. We have some one-word plays where we just say one word. Everybody's got to know what it is. So that's the exciting part about it. The way we finished the season, I think the last 4 games offensively, we played a lot better than we did early in the year. So I think we were growing together, want to keep those guys around, and let's add some young talent, and maybe there might be 2 guys we might look to bring in here if we can make it work. So we're not done adding, but we're comfortable where we're at. We feel like we can be a good offense. So we just got to go out there and produce earlier in the season than we did in years past.
All right, thanks, Ryan.
Thanks.
Next questions from Nick Konorowski from Argonauts.ca.
Hey, Ryan, I just had a question about kind of the process of free agency this year. Last year, you come off a division title and you come close to the top of the mountain. And I'm assuming it was like, all right, what can we do next to make sure that we're in that Grey Cup game? What is it like this winter and saying, okay, we are the top dogs. We have to make sure that, we're back defending our title. So kind of what were the differences in the process of looking at the free agency group this year?
Yeah, my first year, I felt like free agency was nonstop for about 12 hours. We signed like 40 guys, and then a little bit more last year. This year we were looking, you always look. And so we found some guys we really were comfortable with, and, we felt like they wanted to be here. So through the negotiation window, there was about 5 or 6 guys we were talking to, and wanted to get them in here to feel like they make us better. But we also wanted to get our guys back and make another run at this thing. So you can't have the same roster year in, year out. That's just part of the business. And, numbers aren't necessarily going to work out for, both parties. And after you win the Grey Cup, a lot of guys want to get some dough. And, some of the guys leave because they get better offers from other teams. And that's just part of it. So, we wanted to keep as many guys in as we could, get a little bit younger as well and bring in some, fresh faces to add to our locker room and obviously production on the football field.
Why did you come to Toronto?
Oh, well, I think number one, our relationship with Mace, the coaching staff, Dinwiddie, Bell. I knew them prior to my time in Calgary, and I knew them all to be trustworthy. I knew them all to have my back when I was injured and things like that. And I knew they stick with their players even if they're going through kind of a downtime. I mean, I don't expect many downtimes, but it happens every once in a while. And I know they'll stick with their guns and let you play to the best of your ability and play free. So that was definitely number one. Number two, being able to come closer to home, closer to family. Our flight makes it really easy to come back and forth. And then number three, I think the most important one is a team that just won, and having the ability to win games in a great city like Toronto. Couldn't pass that up.
Our first question comes from David Morasuti. David?
Welcome to Toronto. When you look at, coming to a team that's won a Grey Cup, how exciting is it to know that there's that foundation, that base of being a champion that you're joining right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to winning programs. My first year in the league was with Calgary. We were coming off basically they went 3 Grey Cup straight. It was 2018 and we won it. So that's the culture that I'm used to, and I believe that's the culture they're building here. Very, very similar to that time, and I think that's what every player wants to play for. You want to play for championships, you want to play for rings, and I think this gives me the best opportunity to do that.
How do you see the transition from going from a team in the West to a team in the East? I know there's the talk about the East potentially being an easier path for some, although you still have to win games and beat teams to get the Grey Cup. But how do you feel that dynamic's going to change going from the West to the East?
Honestly speaking, I think we have talented players all across the league. I think the West may be a little bit more competitive sometimes, but the East is competitive in its own right. And a lot of good players even from the West have been coming over East too. So, and I mean, throughout last season, it was pretty close in the East until like the final few weeks. You know, all three teams out of the three teams came out of the East. There wasn't a crossover. So I think the East will be very competitive this year, and I'm excited for that.
Final one for me. Who was the first to welcome you to the team out of all the guys on the roster?
Like player-wise or coach-wise?
Player-wise.
Player-wise, who was first? I think Robbie Smith was first. Yeah, Robbie was first. Yeah. So I'm excited to get to meet him soon. Get to play with all the D linemen, and yeah, he was the first one. So.
All right. Well, thank you and welcome to Toronto.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next question from TSN's Matt Shinetti.
Welcome to the Toronto Float. In terms of Brett Munson, who you're coming from, and Corey Mace, who you had a relationship with in Calgary, what is it about the way that they coach defense that it's just going to be a comfortable transition for you?
I think the biggest thing is detail oriented. I feel like coming from the same scheme, we knew the game plan in and out, and it was very, very detailed. I mean, it's up to you to really study it. I mean, of course, we'll go through it during the week, but with guys who take ownership, I think it makes it really easy to play fast on game day and to know exactly what you're doing and not have many missed assignments. I think that's sound football, and it gives you a chance to win every game.
And to that point about taking responsibility for your preparation, how detail oriented both guys are. If you saw anything from afar, as you know, Corey was in his first year as a defensive coordinator, and is there anything that you saw in terms when watching the Argos and watching the way that they set up on defense that said, you know, that you liked, or that even now is maybe you were talking to the club, you were like, Corey as a defensive coordinator, he's even shown more of something than he did when he was a D-line coach?
Yeah, I think a lot of 4-down structure. I think that really fits my game, and I also think that that Mace called his best games in the biggest moments, and I think that was really important to see because, to be honest, I never saw him, you know, call plays when I was in Calgary. He was my D-line coach, so seeing him being able to take that step and, you know, really, you know, take the game, you know, by the horns, was really impressive to me, and is another factor in why I came here.
And up next, Jordan Williams. Jordan, I'll start out by asking you to kind of go over for everybody the reasons why you asked for the trade and your initial response when you found out it was Toronto.
Okay. The initial reasoning for asking for the trade was also to come back home for business ventures and opportunities that piqued my interest, things of that nature. And I'm just happy to be here.
Okay, again, if you have a question, use the raise hand function. We will start with David Morisuti. David?
Thank you. Jordan, welcome to Toronto. What excites you about the opportunity here in Toronto? When we're talking to Coach Dinwiddie, he said that ideally he sees you potentially line up in a spot that was occupied by Enoch Mwamba, who, you know, obviously coming off the Grey Cup MVP award. Do you feel like, you know, that's the role you envision yourself playing, kind of what Enoch brought to the lineup?
Absolutely. I could play the Mike or the Will position where they need fit. We talk behind the scenes about situations like that, playing the Mike position. And I'm ready to play that position. And that's what I came here to do, make tackles, make splash plays, and get off the field.
How do you feel the first few years of your career have gone, you know, with the pressure of being the first overall pick and all those things? How do you think what have you learned about yourself in the last few years since you started in the CFL?
I learned to be consistent and persistent. My first year, you know, I won Rookie of the Year. Second year, I led the team in tackles. had a pretty decent stat line, and just being consistent and being where the coach wants you to be. And if you're in those positions, you'll be able to make plays to help better your team.
All right. Well, thank you, and welcome to Toronto.
Thank you.
Next question's from Matt Shinetti from TSN.
Welcome to Toronto, Jordan. At this point in your career, having accumulated the accolades you already have, what is it for a linebacker that you see to yourself, okay, like I'm no longer a rookie, I've established myself, but now taking that leadership role? Because if in fact you do take Enoch's role, no one's going to compare you to Enoch, but there will be an expectation, I would imagine, from Coach Mace that you're coming in and you're really going to solidify yourself as now the guy, if you happen to be helping to call plays for defense, or you're the guy who everyone checks with. Like, do you see that this is an opportunity to take that leadership role?
Absolutely. As the Mike linebacker, you can't be quiet. You got to be outgoing. You got to line the defense up, tell people what to do. And when people are feeling down, you got to be the momentum shifter. If there's a change of momentum, the team is down, you got to be that guy to get them to flip that mindset for you to be successful on the defense. So yeah, there is a standard playing middle linebacker in any league. So that's the stuff you got to have. You got to be born with it. You can't just learn it on the fly. And I feel like I have those qualities and those traits to be a successful middle linebacker in this league.
And to that point, what were some of the early kind of conversations, if any, you've had with Corey about, maybe what he's expecting out of you, or maybe has there been some kind of film study that he wants you to get into right away so that, you, again, it's not something that you can learn, you're born with it, but that you feel even more confident heading into training camp?
Absolutely. He definitely wants us to get into film. I got into film as soon as I got here. But we haven't really gone in detail about the X's and O's of the Mike and Will position. I'm not too sure which position I'm actually going to be making myself home at, particularly. We're going to have to see through camp to see what fits my style, my gameplay. Be me, if Enoch comes back and Witten come back. So there's going to be different positions that is going to be open for me to play. And then I'm versatile. I could play both Mike and Will.
Appreciate this, Jordan. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question's from Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation.
Hey, Jordan, I'm just curious of the genesis of you requesting the trade. Was it something that was recent? Was it soon after the season? Did you get to talk to some other teams? Like, did you get to talk to the Argos before you went there? And how did that all go down?
No, I didn't talk to the Argos at all. I just woke up one day, the way things were going. I said, I just want to go out east, be closer to home, be closer to business ventures to help supplement my CFL pay, and went from there. And the Argos are willing to make that happen. There are other teams out east who are willing to make that happen, but it's close to home over here, and I have family here, so it's the right home to be in Toronto.
And how much does it mean to you to be in a city where I believe your mom was from, right?
Absolutely. She tells me all the time that I say, all right, I'm going to Toronto. Are you going to my home country? You going to my home state or province rather? And it's funny because she makes fun of me of that. Going to her home place and hometown. And she makes sure that I rep, and I learned that national anthem.
And what about for yourself on the field? What do you envision doing with the Argos? We've seen what you've done your first couple of years with BC, being the most outstanding rookie, a ratio-breaking linebacker. Do you believe you can take it to the next level with Corey Mason with the Argos?
Absolutely. Being in this league, you got to keep stacking and getting better. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So I got to get an upwards trajectory here in Toronto, and I believe we have the staff, the coaches to do that.
And what do you think it shows about your value that the Argos were willing to give away a first-round pick to get you?
It shows a lot. I didn't really know the extent of the trades, but knowing that it was a first-round pick, that's awesome because, when you're looking at a first-round pick, you're thinking for that guy to be a starter or a ratio breaker, and that's good to know.
Have you talked with Enoch Muamba at all about if he does come back, what you guys could be able to do together on defense?
I haven't reached out to Enoch yet. I see his funny Instagram clips. He's a hilarious guy, I'm sure. But it'll be nice to get in touch with him, reach out to him, talk to him, a little bit later.
Darius, you agreed to terms rather early in the process with Toronto. What excites you so much about getting into double blue?
I mean, first and foremost, they won a championship. So they have a winning culture here. Everything was really smooth with Toronto, from the coaching staff to the GM, assistant GM. Everybody was upfront, honest. Communication was great the entire time through the process, and made my job easy, especially representing myself.
First question is from David Morisuti. David?
Welcome to Toronto, Darius. Just wanted to get your sense on Coach Dinwiddie said he can play multiple positions. How much do you feel that kind of helped you in this process to know that you bring that versatility to this team and there was an obvious fit right from the start?
It helped a lot. I mean, communication was constant. It was there, and it made my job easy. Looking at the style of play that how they play their game on defense and how I play my game, I fit right well with the defense. And from the start of free agency, they was on it. They was really on it. And like I said, that communication was very key to me coming here.
How excited are you to joining a team that you personally got to see play against a few times and went like pretty much neck and neck in the playoffs, and knowing that now you're joining a group that's been there and that's a majority of them are sticking around from that championship team?
I'm really excited, especially knowing that they led the league in interceptions. Takeaways is a big thing when playing the game of football, and knowing that I'll be a part of a defense like that really excites me. Like I said, I fit right in with those guys. I have some very talented people on defense, and I'm really excited to get a chance to play with those players.
All right, well, thanks for doing this, and welcome to Toronto.
Thank you.
Next question's from Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation.
Hey, Darius, what happened on the other end with Montreal? Was it the ownership situation that was the main reason why you didn't go back to the Alouettes and chose Toronto?
Yeah, it was a lot of instability, a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot going on throughout the season this past year. Coaching changes, all of that, just a lot of unstableness for me. And talking with my family, it was, I felt like it was time to move on from that because of this situation at hand. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I know you guys have heard that from other players, my counterparts, Geno Lewis and Trevor Harris. Congratulations to those guys too, who knows their respective new teams that they found. But it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with.
Did you talk to Trevor Harris and Geno Lewis about potentially all three of you going somewhere together?
I talked to Geno, not more so Trevor, but I spoke to Geno primarily damn near every day throughout this process. So me and Geno, we real tight as far as that goes, and knew it was a possibility that we could be all in Montreal, but everybody was exploring options and was trying to do what was best for them and their family and their own situations as well.
And you had multiple teams interested. Can you share those teams, and what was it about Toronto that made you chose the Argos?
The main teams that was more so interested was Saskatchewan, Toronto, BC showed some interest, and then of course Montreal.
And what made you chose Toronto out of all of those teams?
Just the opportunity to play for, like I said, a coaching staff that's stable. Like I said, you just won. Actually, Coach RD, he hit me up the day free agency opened up, and he told me his relations with Coach Angus McClure, who recruited me to UCLA, said he had known him for about 25, 30 years, and Coach Angus spoke highly of me to him. Coach Angus, that's my guy. Love him to death. Like I said, he helped me get to UCLA, recruited me, came and seen me play and all of that. And I had just seen Coach Angus in November, December last year. And, we spoke. So just knowing his relation to Coach Angus and Todd like that, and Coach RD's from Northern California too. So that's another reason.
Thanks.
And next question's from Nick Konorowski from Argonauts.ca.
Hey, Darius, welcome to Toronto. Very glad to have you on our side. Now, just a quick question for you. One of my favorite highlight packs online is one that labels you as the scariest defensive back in the CFL because of those hard-hitting ways. Is that kind of a moniker that you take pride in?
I definitely take pride in the physicalness of my game. I always try to bring passion, intensity, and physicality to every defense that I play on, and that's been me since a little kid. So when that came out, I was very pleased to see that, and just to see how other people feel about my game as well.